Hey, it's Onesto, and I've always been equal parts fascinated and intimidated by cinematic percussion. So this week, I want to tackle this fear by giving myself 2 days to learn everything I can about cinematic drums and then make a 1-minute track. I'm still very far from mastery, but I want to share with you the resources, plugins, and the tips that really help me make something that I'm actually proud of. So let's start with part 1, which is using the right sounds. Now, I've been talking to a company called AVA Music Group, and they just released a Trailer Toms plugin called Decadence. I told them about this video, and they thought Decadence would be a perfect fit for it. So they sent me a copy and even offered to sponsor this video, so thanks AVA. So I loaded up Decadence and I prepped my project with a lot of great sounds that I'll need. Of course, some fantastic toms, these epic war drums, and things like darbukas, frame drums, claps, deep booms, and a whole lot of other things. If you want to check it out for yourself, I'll have a link in the description. Let's move on to part 2, which is cinematic drum programming. Now, I watched a lot of videos about this, and the best resource I found is a video from Spitfire Audio called Cinematic Drum Programming. The video is a little lengthy, so here are my biggest takeaways. For starters, a good rule of thumb is to have the low end play the least, the mid-range just play a little bit more, and the high ends play the most. A really simple concept, but it really helped me to know what each section should be doing. So now it's a matter of actually writing the thing, and after a few failed attempts, this is where my A section started. Yeah, it sounds terrible, so let's quantize it. You'll want to keep the quantization tightest in the low end, since it's kind of the backbone, and then you can humanize and loosen it up as you move up in pitch. All right, does it sound good yet? No, it still sounds so off, and this is why. This is the most important lesson that I learned from this whole exercise. Cinematic percussion needs accents everywhere. Use lots of ghost notes and a whole lot of variety and velocity. Do not play everything at high velocities or else it'll sound bad like this. I was so used to electronic genres where the kick and the snare, they just stay at a consistent velocity, but with cinematic percussion, things just sound consistently inconsistent. The good news is that a lot of high quality cinematic drum libraries, they're very mindful of this and they offer a ton of velocity layers. Decadence, for example, has 10 velocity layers and 5 round robins for each percussion instrument, so I can count on getting a real and human performance. So here's my darbuka layer, for instance. I need to fix the velocity values here. So instead of doing it randomly, I try to think out where I want those accents to hit. I'll even mumble out the accents that help me get a quick feel, like bana 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 bana. So these accents, they create the groove. And then where I don't want an accent, I just lower the velocity. A lot of what I'm doing is by feel and taste, and here's what we have. It's completely transformed. Now let's compare how the whole section sounds before and after I adjusted the velocity throughout. Make sure you apply what we did here everywhere in your project. It's simple, it's tedious, but it's pretty quick. For a beat section though, since I was running out of time, I didn't really want to make a darbuka pattern from scratch. So in Decadence, I selected one of the pattern presets for the sequencer. I tweaked the velocities where I want those accents to land just right. And I ended up getting this. That was so easy. When it comes to fills, since this track is just for fun, I want to do this as quickly as possible. So I went to Splice, downloaded a bunch of fills, and used the ones I thought worked best. I ended up using a lot of reverse cymbals, kicks, a snare roll build, and some djembes. I also make sure to layer my fills when possible. I try to get each layer to have a lot of contrast, so I would mix like the low reverse kick with something like a shiny cymbal. Then I worked out a B and C section using all of these principles. And I'll play everything for you at the end of the video, but here's how it sounds so far going from the B to C section. So things were starting to take shape, but I wanted to learn what I could do to make things sound more polished and pro. So that brings us to part 3, which is the finishing touches. And I found a really good video for this called 5 Tips for a Huge Sounding Cinematic Percussion. Out of these 5 tips, there are 3 quick ones that I want to share with you. The first is using a transient shaper. There are always going to be percussion layers that you'll wish you can tighten up or ring out more, and lucky for us, a transient shaper like Transient Master from Native Instruments can do just that. For example, we have this toms layer that I think would sound better if it had a stronger attack and a tighter release. So I'll just turn up the attack and turn down the sustain until I think it sounds better. Nice. Now we have this clap layer, and I think the sustain should ring out more, so I will adjust that too. Yeah, really easy stuff. But when you adjust the volume envelopes all around the project like a control freak, things really fit together so much better. So here's a before and after of my A section. Whenever using a high quality cinematic percussion library, you can avoid big processing moves. These drum samples, they've already been dialed in by experts who know what these drums should sound like. And I don't know about you, but I don't know what these drums should sound like. I never even played one of them in real life, so this is really good news. So for my project, I just focused on a couple of things. One is some basic EQ moves like scooping out the low ends when needed, and maybe giving like a small boost in the mids or highs for some layers. I also have a lot of powerful low end percussion in here, so I'm pretty sure I can eliminate some low end buildup and make more headroom. To do that, I just threw on Track Spacer, which is some transparent sidechain compression plugin that targets overlapping frequencies. I use this plugin in every project, like everywhere, so I strongly recommend getting it. And the biggest problem area was between the war drums and the deep booms, so I throw on a Track Spacer on the layer I want to affect, which is my war drums, and I'll set the sidechain to my deep boom. And now I can see where those frequencies overlap. So the issue is not in the high end, so I can filter those frequencies out and just focus on the low end. Then I'll adjust this big knob here until I think it sounds good. This plugin is pretty transparent, so you may not hear the difference, but if I bring up this meter, we'll see that between before and after, we are saving quite a bit of headroom. The last thing I want to show you is my favorite because it has the biggest impact on the track. Cinematic percussion has big transients, but the body can feel weak. To solve this, we can use parallel saturation and compression. And if you've never heard of this, it's pretty simple. The plugin I'm going to use for this is Neutron 4 from iZotope because it makes it really easy to explain what I'm doing, and it has an exciter and compressor with a mix control, which is exactly what I need. So here we go. Since my entire track is just filled with percussion, I'm going to put this plugin on my master track. And for both my exciter and compressor, I'm only targeting frequencies above like 175, so I don't want the low end interfering. My exciter is set to around 50%, while my compressor has a ratio of 8. It has a quick attack, medium release, and have a pretty aggressive threshold. I really want the exciter and compressor to work hard in this. So what I'll do now is hit the mix sliders to 0 and adjust to where we can hear that body coming through. I remember to focus on the body of our drums since we're trying to solve that missing body problem. So I like it about here, and let's hear a before and after. Nice. We have a bigger sound with the levels being relatively untouched. And if this was a full track, this would really help the percussion cut to the mix. And let's play the whole thing. I seriously didn't know how to do this a couple days ago. And with these resources, plugins, and honestly, big credit goes to Decadence, here's what I have. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for letting me show you what I learned. Another instrument that I had a hard time programming was guitar VSTs, but I learned how to make them sound a lot more realistic and human. And you can check out that journey by clicking the video here. Thanks for hanging out. Later.